Thank you. I wanted to do the video so that I could highlight all of you. It's been an incredible year, and it's thanks to so many of you that have contributed, offered your time and your talent, and it is very much appreciated, and collectively, we are doing great things. So thank you to all of you. Just a couple other quick thank yous that I want to say. The lovely photos, except for the one, my senior picture, and the one of me with my dad on a horse. Most of the pictures are taken by Marty Morris, Marty is a wonderful photographer, and he captures our events so well. So I wanted to say thank you to Marty. I want to say thank you to my law partners at Larson King who have supported me in all my years through NAL, and especially in this last year as I took on the leadership role. So thank you to my law partners. And last but not least, to my husband, Davin, who is endlessly supportive of me, and who together, we are showing our three sons, John, Luke, and Leo, what it looks like to have a mom who also has a successful career. So thank you. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Cerreta Mcdonough. She recently left private practice, and she is now Associate General Counsel at Intel. She is that rare kind of leader that is both visionary, but also willing to roll up her sleeves and just get the work done. So NAL is in excellent hands. I can't wait to see what happens in the coming year. So please help me welcome your new president, Cerreta Mcdonough.
Thank you, Angela, and I don't know how I'm gonna do that video next year. I think I burned all my photos from childhood so that there was no evidence of the short hair on one side, long hair on the other. That was such an in thing to do at the time. I know, Mom, how you let me do that, really. Before I start my remarks, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming today. I think we're at highest record turnout for the annual, so thank you so much for being here. So much, thank you, everyone. I got a phone call last night at 10:30 at night in my hotel room, and you would think, who's calling the incoming now president at 10:30 at night in her hotel room when she needs her rest to look good for her speech the next day? And if you guessed Selma Modell Smith, you would be correct. So Selma is our most senior member at NAL. She's 99. She's usually here in one of these front tables every annual. She joined NAL right after the war in 1946, when the same day that she was sworn into the bar. And she's been one of NAL's best friends and advocates forever. She is in fantastic health, but because of the heat wave out in California, her doctor said, I don't think you should fly out to New York for this. You never know, you get stuck on the tarmac, they don't have the air conditioning on, I just don't want you to do it. So she called because she wanted me to let you know that she loves the NAL family, that she regrets not being here, and let's all hope that next year when she's 100, the weather is better in LA and we see her next year. So let's give our thoughts out to Selma. So I'm gonna start up. So I think hopefully you feel that my excitement in getting to serve you this year as NAL's president. I first want to take a moment and recognize where we are. Not here, although the Grand Hyatt's lovely, more figuratively, in society and in the world. We, for the most part women, I know the men, you can hopefully join us in the thought. Women and women lawyers in particular have never had it better. Think about it. entire history, this is the best day women and women lawyers have ever had. And tomorrow will be that much better. It's an amazing thing. And from where I stand, our progress seems to have accelerated faster in the past year than it has since I began practicing law some 20 years ago. What did we see this year? We saw the percentage of equity partnerships of incoming classes into large law firms reaching 30%. We saw the global managing partner of one of the largest law firms in the world resign, in no small part to the Me Too movement and the commitment of women lawyers, including Robbie Kaplan, our Mansfield awardee, to seize on this moment and ensure real and lasting change. And while I want to acknowledge where we are, bless you, we also need to acknowledge where we have been and who got us here. As a woman who takes on the presidency of this 119-year institution, I cannot but reflect on the women who founded this organization back in 1899 and the women that followed in their footsteps since. What those women had in common was a belief that what they knew to be true in their hearts, their own intrinsic worth as lawyers, advocates, and counselors, was true, even when voices around them, both men and women, told them otherwise. And 2018 marks several important anniversaries in the fight for women's rights. Jenny mentioned the first one 170 years ago. In 1848, the women's rights movement in this country began with a meeting of reformers in Seneca Falls, New York. Out of that first convention came a historic document, the Declaration of Sentiments, which demanded equal social status and legal rights for women, including the right to vote. 20 years later, 150 years ago, this country enacted the 14th Amendment. It guaranteed the basic equality of all persons and makes good on the promise of those self-evident truths embodied in the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. Today, that amendment stands as a cornerstone of women's due process and equal protection rights. Without it, the rights and gains we have built on top of that foundation would surely crumble. The women and men who devoted their lives to ensure that the promises of our constitutional rights extend to all persons in this country had, in my opinion, one thing in common: a belief that our American democracy could achieve equality and justice, even in the face of unimaginable injustices ingrained in the social fabric of their time. For those who have done the yeoman's work in support of civil rights, it must have seemed an impossible task, surely not achievable in their lifetimes. What compelled them was not the promise that victory would be theirs. What compelled them was their dogged refusal to abide by injustice. And I personally believe that each of them must have been fueled by an unrelenting optimism that spurred them on, even in the face of overwhelming odds. From the outset, NAL's leadership has focused on laws to achieve its ends: women's equality and the advancement of women lawyers in our profession. And it has done so even in the face of overwhelming odds. I recommit to you today this fundamental focus, which will guide my presidency throughout the year. And perhaps more importantly, I promise to serve with unrelenting optimism. Thank you.